thank you so kindly. It's great to be with you again this particular session. This is tape 4 of Bible Memory Made Easy. And I'm looking forward to another fun, exciting, enjoyable experience. Now, some of you are here for the first time, so you're in for some fun. You're going to find you're going to laugh, you're going to enjoy yourself, and I think that you will learn some things in such a fast and easy way that you've never been able to do. The last tape that I did, we ended with what love is, the first half of what love is. Now, for those of you who were not here, and for a quick review for those of you who are looking on the video, we used animals to let us have a way to connect the words of what love is to them. They were in alphabetical order. We did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H the last time, and they were an ape, a buffalo, a cat, a dog, an elephant, a frog, a giraffe, and a horse. Now, what we're going to do now is continue in alphabetical order and use animals, starting with I, on up through O, as you'll find out. And we're going to connect or associate some words reflecting what love is from 1 Corinthians 13 to those particular animals. And for those of you who are not here, and a quick review again, I told the story that these animals love each other. And one of their friends got ill. He got sick. It was an ape. He became a patient in a hospital, which told us love is patient. Now, we went on and saw some other things and learned those. And for those of you here tonight who were not here the last time, you'll be joyous to know that you get that tape and look at it, and you'll learn the first half of love. But here tonight, we're to learn the second half. So if you'll look at the picture, please, you'll notice that this particular picture on the bottom there starts with a horse. Now, we're not going to talk about the horse. We did hidden the last time. But next to the horse, our letter I is going to be an iguana. You can see the iguana there for letter I. J is going to be a jaguar. You see the jaguar to the right of him. And K is going to be a kangaroo. So those are going to be the first three we are going to learn. Let's look at the iguana. You'll see that the iguana is standing on a box of Does soap. Okay? Love does, and he tied a knot around a tea bag that had a toothache. Now, for those of you who were here before, you know a tea bag with a toothache with a knot tied around it is tea-ache. Right? Does not tea ache. The tea bag aches. It's got a toothache, so they tie a knot around to help it. So love does not tea ache, or love does not take. Now, look that the tea bag is counting. Love does not take into account. He's a counter. Love does not take into account. Now, I want you to understand how he got a toothache, because a surfer hit him. A surfboard hit him right in his jaw and gave him a toothache. And you see the surfer up above, and there's a reason that the surfboard hit him, because that guy is surfing the wrong way. You see that? He's a wrong suffer. That's what he is. All right, it says this way, and he's surfing the wrong way. He's a wrong surfer, which tells us wrong suffered. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. So he's suffering or surfing the wrong way, which tells us wrong suffered. Now look at the picture and I will say it for you. Love does not take into account the box of Does soap, the tea bag with a toothache, counting, and of course he got hit by a surfboard that was surfing which way? The wrong way. That was wrong suffered, wasn't it? Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Say that with me. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Now look away from your picture and look to me. The iguana is standing on a box of what? Does. He tied something around a tea bag, a knot. He tied that knot around the tea bag because he had a toothache. And he was also doing what? Counting. Love does not take into account. He got hit in the jaw by somebody that was doing something the wrong way. What was he doing the wrong way? He's a wrong suffered, isn't he? He suffered the wrong way or surfed the wrong way, which tells us love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Say that with me. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Now that goes with the iguana. We have more words tonight. Last night with the ape, love is patient. With the buffalo, love is kind. With the cat, love is not jealous. With the dog, love does not brag, etc. We have some more words here. That doesn't matter. You know, thank God we can learn some more words, but there's just a little bit more to the picture, and it just takes a little bit more time. So the iguana, love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Now let's look back to the picture, and let's look to the jaguar. As you can see, the jaguar is standing at a table. He, with his one paw, if you will, his left paw, is holding onto a box of Does soap with a knot around it. So we know love does not something, don't we? Love does not. And look at that. He's pouring some juice into a glass. He's rejuicing that glass. Love does not rejuice. All right? So what word do you think that is? Rejoice. Love does not rejoice. Now, underneath the table is a bird nest, and we know a bird nest from before was nest, with writing on it. Right on nest is what? Righteousness. It's under the table. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, because it's under the table. Let's say that together. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. Now look at me and not at the picture. The jaguar is kind of orange, like orange juice, isn't he? So that's going to give us a little clue. He's going to rejuice an orange glass, isn't he? But with his other hand, he's holding a box of what? Does so, with a what around it? Not. With his other paw, he's pouring some juice. What's he doing to the glass? Rejuicing it. Love does not rejoice. He's on a table with something where? Under it. Love does not rejoice in what? Unrighteousness. The love of God does not rejoice in unrighteousness. God wants us to walk and live in righteousness, doesn't he? So love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. And also, love does not take into account a wrong surfer. Okay? You need to surf the right way, don't you? Yeah, you know, if you're going to live in God's Word, you need to surf the right way, okay? So love does not take into account a wrong suffered. And with the jaguar, love does not rejoice in what? Unrighteousness. I-J-K. The K is next letter in our alphabet for our animals, and it's a kangaroo. Let's look at the picture. There we see the kangaroo. The kangaroo gets butted by a goat. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but something. But, now notice, it's got a glass that's been rejuiced in its paw too, its hand there. That's been rejuiced too. That came from the jaguar. But rejoices in something. Now look, rejoices with something. Look in its pouch. It's got a Baby Ruth candy bar along with a golf tee. That's the what? The T-Ruth. That's the T-Ruth, the truth. But rejoices with the what? Truth. But rejoices with the truth. That's what the kangaroo is. Right? Now look up at me. Okay? The kangaroo got butted by a goat, which is the word but, and he was probably going to spill his glass of what? Rejuiced. His glass of rejuice, which is but rejoices, and in its pouch is the truth. A tea and a Baby Ruth candy bar, but rejoices with the truth. Now, look at me and think. And just think of the picture in your mind. Last night I started to do this, and you wanted to say it with me, but try not to. Okay, I'm thinking of the iguana. What's he standing on? Does. Love does. All right, not take into account, how do you get that toothache? By a wrong surfer, right? Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Say that with me. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. That was the I, the jaguar. He's kind of an orange color, which reminds us of what kind of juice? Orange juice. That helps us right away. When in his one hand, he's got a box of soap. What kind is it? Does, with a knot wrapped around it, so we know love does not something. With the other, he's pouring a glass of rejuice. Love does not rejoice. Under the table is unrighteousness. Let's say it. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. Let's say it again. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. Now we have the kangaroo. It gets what? Butted. But it's also holding a glass of rejoice. All right, a glass of rejoice. But rejoices, what's in its pouch? Excuse me, the truth. But rejoices with the truth, or in the truth. Well, it's in there, but rejoices in the truth. In or with, so what? About the same word anyway, isn't it? But rejoices in the truth or with the truth. And those are the first three in this picture. After the animals A through H that we learned last night, now we have I, J, and K. And as always, those of you watching the tape, if you feel the need to pop this tape back in and review the iguana, the jaguar, and the kangaroo again, just go ahead and do it. You may need to do that, but I'll guarantee you, as you know, those of you who have been here and those of you who have been viewing these tapes, boy, you view these tapes and you see the information. Cow, commandment number 8, the gate. Thou shalt what? Not steal. That's something we did several tapes ago, but it's there. It pops into our mind, and God's given us a great ability, an ability to see pictures in our mind and keep them. Now, let's look back at the picture. Now, after the kangaroo, the K, we come to the letter L. Now, these last four animals are going to be a lion, L, M, a monkey, N, a night owl, and an O, an octopus. You see some bears there, but They're out of alphabetical order, so they aren't one of them we use. There are some words that they will represent in a moment. But look at that lion. Okay, he has his hands over his, paws over his ears because somebody is singing. Okay, they're singing not very well, so he has his hands over his ears. And the bears, they sing. They sings. Single, double, two bears, sings. Okay, and I'm going to use sings here for things. It's close enough, it'll work. So when we see somebody singing this picture, he sings, it's going to be the words what? Things. Close enough, it'll work. We change the S to a T, we basically have things, don't we? So look at the lion. He's holding his hands over his ears because the bears are singing or thinging. And when they sing, a couple of awls pop out of their mouth. Now, for those of you who were not here last night, you may not know what an awl is. An awl is a round-handled punching tool, like an ice pick, only with a big round handle. It's used to punch holes in leather and things like that. So what that tells us is love bears all things. Say it with me. Love bears all things, because there are the bears. The awls are coming out of their mouth, and they are thinging, right? They are thinging. They lisp, so they don't sing. They thing, right? So love bears all things. Say it with me. Love bears all things. Now, I'll guarantee you later when I review with you and I say the lion, he's holding his paws over his ears. Why? Somebody's a terrible singer. Who's the terrible singer? Love bears all things. Next, after M is an N. An N. Let's look back at the picture. After L is an M. I don't know my alphabet. After an L is an M, and it's a monkey. And you can see the monkey there. And all of these things, the last four end in all things. All things, all things, all things. They all end in that particular, those particular words. Now look at the monkey. He has a bee with some leaves in front of him. He's kind of patting the leaves, the wings of the bee, and he's on some leaves. So we know love believes something, right? Well, look, he sings, and it all comes out of his mouth. Love believes all things. Say it with me. Love believes all things. That monkey believes all things, right? We should be as full of faith as that monkey, to believe all things that God tells us. Amen? Love believes all things. The love of God will teach us to believe all things that God teaches us. Love believes all things. Now, after the M, we go to the N, the night owl. You know, I tried to search for an animal that started with the letter N, and I had a little difficulty. So I finally used a night owl for the letter N. Now, look at the night owl. He hops over an awl as he things. I didn't say things, but things. So, love hops all things? No, love hopes all things. So we add an E to hops and we have hopes. Love hopes all things. Say it with me. Love hopes all things. Let's do the last all things here with the octopus. And you can see the octopus is in front of a door. There's a letter N on that door. Endure or endures. Endures. And he sings and it all flies out of his mouth and hits into the door. Love endures all things. Now, look away from the picture and look at me. We're going to go through the last four. The lion, the monkey, the night owl, and the octopus. The lion has his paws over his ears because somebody doesn't sing very well. They don't thing very well, do they? What two animals aren't thinging very well? Bears. So love bears all things. The monkey, he has the wings of a little thing in his lap. What is it? A bee on a bunch of leaves, which tells us love believes all things. Then we come to the night owl. He is hopping. He hops, which tells us love hopes all things. And the octopus is standing in front of a what? A door with a letter N on it, which tells us love endures all things. It's that simple and it's that easy. Now, let me review with you a little bit. If I say the lion, raise your hand if you know the words to the lion. Everybody, come on, raise your hand. Love does what? Bears all things. Boy, those bears can't thing a bit, can they? I mean, they're terrible thingers. So love bears all things. Now, let's think of the night owl. Just see what he does. Love what? Hopes all things. It's that simple because we can what? See it. So we've taken the words, which are intangible that can't be seen, we've given them a tangible identity, and we've connected them here to something. animals in alphabetical order, which keeps the words in proper order. By starting with the ape, who was the patient in the hospital, and the buffalo, who was very kind to him, and the cat, who was not jealous, and the dog, who does not brag, and the elephant, who is not arrogant, and the frog, who is not selfish or rude, and the giraffe, who does not seek his own, and the horse is not provoked. Then we come to the I-J-K-L-M-N-O here. The iguana does not take into account a wrong suffered. The jaguar does not rejoice in unrighteousness, and so forth. And once again, to know it better, pop the tape in until you know it, and you can see it well, and you will know it. And the exciting thing about this, as I said yesterday, is when you walk about your daily activities and you begin to see animals, my prayer is that the Word of God will pop into your mind, and you will think of the love of God, what love is. You'll see a dog very often, won't you? You'll see a cat very often. Now, you may not see an iguana all the time. You know, of all these animals, I don't know if that's the least one we might see. But you may not see them all the time. But the point is this: if you see a dog and you know these animals in alphabetical order, your mind can go through all of them, and you can reflect and meditate on the love of God, can't you? And you know, those of you who were here before and those of you who've been viewing the tapes on a regular basis, either at church or Sunday school class or at school or at home, you know that you're seeing more and more things, and they're reminding you of the Word of God. All right, you see a bed. You know, when you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. You know, and you see a piece of fruit. Oh, the fruit of the Spirit, and you know that love is, you know, the fruit of the Spirit and what they are. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, etc. And it pops into your mind and you can see it. It's fun. I tell you, it's so exciting to learn when you use God's gift and do it in the right way. It's really an enjoyable experience. So we could go over that again, but we're not going to. Bam, the tape goes back in. You can review it again till everything is clear. And you know, I see them in my mind because obviously I created the pictures and developed them, but you will too. I have no more ability of seeing pictures in my mind than any of you do. How many of you can see an elephant in your mind? Raise your hand. You all can. The elephant that I see in my mind is no better than the elephant you see in your mind. So you see, God hasn't gifted me with some supernatural learning ability that He hasn't given you. My gift is the ability to create the material to let us all learn. That's my gift. I can't do with it any more than you can. I can't see pictures in my mind any better than you. Now, what I want to do next is start to teach you the books of the New Testament. So we're going to get to that picture, and we're going to learn the books of the New Testament. Now, I have already talked to you and taught you before the books of the Old Testament. Okay? I have taught you that. And so we're going to talk about the books of the New Testament now. And the books of the Old Testament ended with that mallet kite. Remember the hag with one eye? Haggai, who was sitting on a Sacharai, which was Zechariah, and she was flying a mallet as a kite, Malachi. All right? We remember those of us who were here, don't we? Seeing that picture in our mind. So in this picture that you see here on page 7, for those of you here, the picture that you see there is going to be the books of the New Testament. Now, you see to the left and above the picture a mallet kite. You see a mallet with a string on it and a tail like a kite. That connects the last book of the Old Testament to the first book of the New Testament. You'll also notice that a girl is sitting on a bunch of new books. They're new books in a classroom. They represent the books of the New Testament. Now, what's she drawing and writing on the board? Math, which will obviously tell us the book of Matthew. That's probably new math in the New Testament. I don't know if it is or not. But anyway, it's Matthew. To the right of her, a boy is marking marks on the board. X's and O. He's marking up the board, which of course tells us the book of Mark. Matthew, Mark. Matthew and Mark. Now, the boy to the right of him is shouting, yelling, oh! I think he stuck his hands in that water, and that water was a little warmer than he thought. He thought it was cold, but no, what was its temperature? It was lukewarm, of course, which is going to tell us a book of Luke. Now look up at me. It's very simple. We know we came from the Old Testament with the mallet kite, and it flew into a school, didn't it? The string must have broken, and it flew right down into a school where a girl was sitting on a bunch of what kind of books? New books, which represent the books of the New Testament. And what was she writing on the board? Math, the book of Matthew. The boy to her right was doing what to the board? Marking it up, the book of Mark. And the little boy to him, we saw the O on the board, and his mouth was in the shape of an O, because he stuck his hand into what kind of water? Lukewarm water. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. All right? Let's look back at the picture. Now, he is also Matthew, Mark, Luke, and what he's doing, you'll find out what his mouth is doing now, folks. It wasn't open like a letter O at all. I just told you that. He is one of those students who is not, he's not really excited about being in school, so he's yawning. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and yawn. Okay? Of course, which will tell us the book of what? John. Okay? He's just not excited about school. He has to learn the hard way. He has to learn a bunch of words which he can't see. So it's not a very pleasant experience for him. So we have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which will tell us John. Okay? Now, as we go on, the water had to be heated some way. And it was heated in that wood-burning stove back there. And to cut the wood, someone used a big what? An axe. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and axe. Now, as we continue to look at the picture, we see who was using the axe or wielding the axe was a soldier. What kind of soldier? A Roman soldier, of course. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, axe, and Romans. Now, look up at me and away from the picture. Having a little fun. The mallet kite broke its string and flew away from the Old Testament into the New, where a girl was sitting on a bunch of what kind of books? New books, representing the books of the New Testament. Obviously the books of the New Testament. She was writing what on the board? Math. The boy to her side was drawing marks. The boy to his right put his hands in lukewarm water. He wasn't too excited about school, so he was the book of John or John. All right? The book of John or John. Now, to warm the water, somebody was cutting wood with an axe. And who was doing it? Romans. The book of Romans, because a Roman soldier was doing it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, and Romans. And we can see it. We can see it without a problem. Let's look back at the picture. As we look back at the picture, imagine when the axe comes down to cut the wood, but it also flew back and it cut that apple. See that apple core that's been cut? All right. There's a core, and there's some ants in the core. Core in the ants. All right. So what will that remind you of? Corinthians. Core in the ants is close enough to Corinthians, isn't it? So those are the books of Corinthians. And of course we have 1st and 2nd Corinthians. And on the left you see the first ant wearing a fur, 1st Corinthians. And the second ant is holding up a clock that tells time in seconds. 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. And we can see it without a problem, can't we? Now, I want you to imagine that second ant, 2 Corinthians, is holding the clock to time something. He's timing something outside the school. You see, the school must be up in Alaska someplace because there's a glacier that shines flowing near the school. And he's timing how long it's going to take to break that wall down so he can get out of school. That's what he's doing. He don't want to be in school. He doesn't learn the easy and fun way. He learns the hard, repetitive way. So outside, he's timing a glacier that shines. Galatians, right? This will tell us the book of Galatians. A glacier that shines, Galatians, the book of Galatians. Now, let's get rid of the picture and look back up at me. And let's review these first few books of the New Testament. We know the mallet kite broke its string and flew out of the Old Testament into the New, where a girl was sitting on some new books representing the books of the New Testament. What was she doing on the board? Math. The boy to her right was writing marks. The boy to his right stuck his hands in lukewarm water. Wasn't real enthused about school, so he was yawning. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Now, they had to heat that water for that lukewarm water, and they cut the wood with an axe. Who cut the wood? A Roman soldier, the book of Romans. When the axe went the other way, what did it cut? An apple core. What was in the core? Ants. Core in the ants tells us the book of Corinthians, and there were two ants, of course. 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. He was holding the clock to tell time in seconds. What was he timing outside? Galatians. A glacier that shines, Galatians. It's that simple and it's that easy. It's not a problem because we can what? See it. It can be seen. And you know, we had, I suppose we laughed a little bit more with the Old Testament because there were some things there that perhaps were a little bit funnier, but you can still see it, can't you? You can still see it without a problem. And we've connected the last book to the beginning book here. And of course we know where it came from if we went backwards. Malachi, she was sitting on a sack of rye, and she was a hag with one eye, Haggai. And then Zephaniah, remember the Jeff standing there? He was standing in that ick, which is Habakkuk, and so forth. I mean, you can go forwards or backwards once you've seen it. And I know some of you here were not in that last class, and you don't know what I'm talking about in seeing that. But it can be seen anyway if you just simply review it. Now, what I want to do in this particular session is go on and learn some more books of the New Testament. So let's look at this next picture here, and you will see that we will learn the next books of the New Testament. Just flip your pages there, those of you who are in class here, to page 8, and we'll get started on those. Now, you can see it begins with the glacier. I always begin the next picture with that thing that ended the last picture. And something slid down that glacier, and his feet shine. See that? See that? It's an eel. An eel is E. E feet shines. So if we take the T out of feet, we have Ephesians. Ephesians or Ephesians. So what slid down the shining glacier? Ephesians, didn't he? He slid down there and he had a coin in his hand. He's flipping that coin into a bucket. See that? Guess what book that is? Philippians. I mean, he's Philippian those coins into that bucket, isn't he? Now, folks, the bucket has nothing to do with the book, but he had to flip it in something. Flip in is Philippians, right? So he didn't flip it out. It wasn't Philippiadians. No, it's Philippians. So he's flipping that coin in something. So that eel, his feet shines, Ephesians, and he flips a coin into a bucket, Philippians, when we can see that. Now, that coin was flipping up, and a couple of drivers of some cars watched him flip that coin, and they had some collisions. Boom! Didn't they? They had collisions, which tells us a book of Colossians. That's right. Well, if you watch that money flipping around, you'll have some collisions. You better be careful. Keep your eyes off that money, right? Keep that eye on the straight and narrow road, following Christ, right? All right, now let's look. What's driving the car? The collisions. Now something's driving the car. Two things are driving the car. The car on the left, the first car, has some thistles and onions in it. Hello. Thistle onions. So what book is that? Thessalonians. And you can see the first one's wearing a fur, First Thessalonians, and the second one, and behind the car is a clock that tells time in seconds. First Thessalonians, Second Thessalonians. Yeah, well, you can see it, and it's kind of fun, isn't it? I mean, it is fun. Let's look away from the picture and look at me. Glad you're having a good time. I am. I love to teach. I love to teach because it's fun to teach, and it's great to see students smile and laugh like you do. We stopped with the glacier that shines, Galatians. It begins this picture. Something slid down the glacier, and his feet shines. What is it? Ephesians. When he got to the bottom, what did he do? Philippians. And boy, some people were watching that coin and had some Colossians. They had some collisions or Colossians. What was driving the two cars? First Thessalonians and Second Thessalonians. Thistles and onions. Sounds a lot like Thessalonians, doesn't it? And we can see it without a problem. First Thessalonians, Second Thessalonians. Let's look back at the picture. Now, to the right of the thistles and onions are two timid trees. You see that? I mean, you take the R out of tree and you have Timothy or Timothy, right? Timothy. And the first tree is wearing a fur, and the second tree tells time in seconds. First Timothy, Second Timothy. It's that simple. It's that easy. It's not a problem. You can see it, can't you? Now, so we have First and Second Timothy. To the right, the second tree, you'll notice, is looking at that elephant. See the eyes looking over at the elephant because that elephant is backing into the tree, and he's so timid he doesn't want anybody near him. That elephant is backing into the tree because someone is tying his tusks. Tie tusks. Okay? Tie tusks. Take the K out of tusk and you have tie tusk, or the book of Titus, and you can see it. Now what's tying his tusks? It's a file stuck in a lemon. That's a Philemon. What book is it? Philemon. You can see it, can't you? All right. I'm glad you're having a good time. Now, put the pictures away so you can't see them. And let's review this picture once again. Seeing it in our mind as we go. It began with the glacier, which told us Galatians. Now something slid down the glacier. What was it? Ephesians. When he got to the bottom, what did he do? Philippians. Uh-oh, somebody watched the coins instead of what they were doing and had Colossians. What was driving the two cars? 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians. And when they had the wreck, something probably bounced up into those timid trees. 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy. Something brushed itself back into the timid tree while it was getting its tie tusks. And what was tying the tusks? Philemon. A file and a lemon, and you can see it without a problem, can't you? Without any difficulty whatsoever. None whatsoever. Now, let me ask you a question about this. See if you know. I don't have to start at the beginning doing anything. Now, I'm thinking of the book of Philippians. We can see it. Now, what book follows Philippians? Raise your hand if you know what book follows Philippians. What is it? Colossians. Because when the coin flipped, they had a collision and they were watching the coin instead of where they should have been driving. Well, what had the collisions? 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians. We can see it. Raise your hand if you know which book follows Galatians. Raise your hand. What is it? Ephesians. How do we know? Because we can see it. It's not difficult at all. God's given us a tremendous ability. It's God's ability. Once again, I'm going to repeat. I'm not giving you any ability. God is the one who gives the ability, and we can see it without any problem. Now, we've learned some things in this session. Of course, we've had some fun. I think that, we learned the second part of what love is with our alphabetical animals. Love is in order. Those of you who were not here the last session, some new people here in this session, love is in order. And I said, the love of God is the only thing that's truly in order in this universe. It holds the universe together. The love of God is that bolstering factor in our lives. It's in order. And of course, in my pictures, it's in alphabetical order. An ape all the way to an octopus. Now, folks, I'm thinking of a lion. Ooh, can't sing it all. Love what? Bears all things. Bears all things. Now I'm thinking of a monkey. What's down in front of him? Love believes all things. You can see it, can't you? Without a problem. Now let me ask you this. How many of you think you know which books follow 1 and 2 Thessalonians? Raise your hand if you think you know which book follows 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians. What are the books? 1 and 2 Timothy. See, now we don't have to go back to, let's see, and the thing you've always done by repetition to try to find yourself, or Matthew, Mark, Luke, you don't have to do that anymore once you can see it, because you'll know and you'll see it. For those of you who were here before, a little review of some time ago, the books of the Old Testament. How many of you think you know which book follows Judges? Raise your hand if you think you know which book follows Judges. What is it? Ruth. Because the judge was holding a baby Ruth candy bar behind his back, wasn't he? How about the book of Ezra? The piece of meat that Ezra, right? Which book is it? Nehemiah. And you know because you can see it. Now some folks who have just come into this session don't know that because you haven't seen the picture. But for those of you who were not here, there was a little newspaper boy that pulled something out of his sack, a piece of meat, and he had a southern accent. And we would have said that piece of meat is raw, but he didn't. He said, this your piece of meat is raw. That's right, it is raw, which was the book of Ezra. That's right. And he took that meat and put it on the what of a what, folks? The Nehemiah, which was Nehemiah. And I mean, you see it and you go and it's fun and it's enjoyable. Well, it's been great for me to teach you in this particular session. I thank you very, very much for your attention, and keep studying and keep viewing and keep learning the Word of God. Thank you very, very much.